It's Overreaction Monday here on the Raiders Report. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the #1 most watched Raiders channel in the entire world. And I'm going to give you some of the biggest overreactions that I am seeing and hearing after the Raiders' 38-10 loss to the Buffalo Bills. Would not be able to do today's show if it wasn't for our awesome sponsor, True Classic. And you can go get the shirt that I'm wearing and a lot of other unbelievably comfortable t-shirts and shorts at trueclassic.com/chatsports. Also, make sure you use promo code chatsports for 25% off. I mean, let's not get this thing twisted, right? That was one of the worst football games I've ever seen by a Raiders team play. They scored 10 points, 7 of which came on the opening drive. After that, it was 38-3 for Buffalo. If this Raiders team wants to be taken seriously, where the hell is this great offense? I mean, the Silver and Black spent all this money on the offensive side of the football in the offseason and combined have 27 points scored through 2 games. If Josh McDaniels doesn't learn how to start making some in-game adjustments, it's going to be a long season. Yes, the Raiders are 1-1. I've sat up here on the show before, and I said, if you would have told me they'd be 1-1 and tie for the AFC West, I'd be okay. But getting your ass kicked like that, it's a tough one to swallow. So coming up here is going to be the 6 biggest storylines as it stands right now after the Raiders' ass kicking that you just saw go down on Sunday. The first one, and it's the biggest one that I see out there, do the Raiders need to fire Josh McDaniels? Believe me, I know I used to say it last season. There's at times where Josh really frustrates me, but this is a massive overreaction. The Raiders aren't going to fire McDaniels. In fact, I think the only way that this team legitimately fires him is if they are 1-11 going into the Raiders Week 13 bye. That's the only way I see this going down. Was he bad today? Yes. If McDaniels doesn't learn how once somebody takes your offensive main weapon away and you can't make any adjustments, that's a problem. He made sure he went out and got his quarterback. Well, right now, Jimmy Garoppolo, teams are stacking the box. They're taking away Josh Jacobs. If you don't figure out a way to make sure that teams don't stack out the box, you're going to be in trouble. The Raiders are going to be in trouble. Here's my opportunity, though, with everybody tuning in right now. How would you feel if the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels? If you found out right now that the Raiders fired McDaniels, would you be happy or would you be mad about it? What would you think? Let me know down in the comments. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. For me personally, my answer of whether or not I would be happy or mad, it's a very complicated answer, which you're going to see here in a sec. I'm split down the middle. Do I think Josh McDaniels is a good head coach? No, I do not. And until he proves me otherwise, I'll continue to say that. He's an offensive-minded guy, but he's not built to be a head coach. I would be frustrated, though. If the Raiders were to fire McDaniels, I would be ticked off in the idea that this is not the right time to fire McDaniels if you were going to do it. You should have done it in the offseason. You wanted to roll with him? Cool. You're going to have to roll with him this entire upcoming season unless it is an absolute disaster. Do I think it's the best long-term move for the Raiders? Yes. Do I think it's the best move for this Raiders team right now? No. And I think anybody that thinks that you should fire him, that's not thinking with your dipstick. All right, let's go to the next one. Coming in here, Raiders should have kept Derek Carr. I'll tell you about this one in just a second, but I do got to tell you about our sponsor, True Classic, because they're hooking up the nation here with an unbelievable deal. And don't get me wrong, right? People say, look good, feel good. The only thing making me feel good right now this morning after the Raiders losing 38-10 is the fact that I feel like I look halfway decent, and that's all because of True Classic. So I just want to take a minute to talk about these amazing tees and shorts that I'm wearing from True Classic. It's my go-to destination for tees, shorts, jeans, and other closet essentials. I love how their shirts feel and fit, offering us guys premium products without the premium price tag. Believe me, once you try these shirts from True Classic, you'll never go to the regular basics. For a limited time, they are giving our listeners 25% off their first purchase at trueclassic.com/chatsports with offer code chatsports. Okay, so let's talk about these t-shirts for a second. I know you've probably heard me rant and rave about them before, but they are unbelievable. Seriously, you haven't lived until you've worn one of these perfect fitting tees. They're ultra soft, cut to highlight your arms and chest while hiding your gut. Hey, we've all had a few beers for these recent days, right? Plus, they've come in packs because we all hate to do laundry. So if you're ready to make the easiest decision of your life and upgrade to True Classic, shop at trueclassic.com/chatsports and save 25% off with code Chat Sports. Again, y'all, that link's going to be available for you guys down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So one of the common talking points that kept popping up on my Raiders live stream, I see it on social media, is that the Raiders should have kept Derek Carr. And oh my God, this is the biggest overreaction of the entire day. I don't care who you had at quarterback. Whoever was playing QB today for the Raiders wasn't winning that football game. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. If your defense is giving up 38, probably should have gave up 45. I get it. The one Jimmy G-I-N-T was a bad one. But let me make one thing very clear here. Jimmy Garoppolo, I would rather have as my quarterback than Derek Carr. Derek Carr has never won anything. And the fact that we are even still talking about DC on a Raiders channel after week 2, it's embarrassing. If you're the Raiders fan that's cheering for the Raiders to lose and Derek Carr to do well, shame on you. And I mean that in the most nice way possible. Shame on you. The Raiders did the right thing by moving on with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now the question is, can they make the right adjustments to continue to move in the right direction? Let's go to the next overreaction story here. Josh Jacobs stinks. Finished the day with 9 carries for -2 yards. Another overreaction. And guess what? In a 38-10 blowout loss, you're going to see a lot of overreactions because Raider fans, just like me, I'm a passionate human being. I was excited all week for the Raiders to play the Bills. I woke up early this morning, ready to go. It's Jeremy's birthday on Sunday. We were ready to party. And that was the performance that we got. The problem with the Raiders' offense right now is not Josh Jacobs. The offensive line can pass block. They can't run block to save their life. But they can't run block to save their life because they're going up against 7 or 8 defenders every single time they call hike. Defenses are doing something very simple. They're stacking the box, and they are forcing Jimmy Garoppolo to throw it deep. And until McDaniels or Garoppolo prove that they can throw a deep ball, teams are going to continue to do it over and over and over and over and over again. So if McDaniels is this offensive genius that everybody's telling me that he is, he needs to be able to look into his offensive genius playbook and figure out a way to get the best running back in football going, because what he has done for 2 weeks in a row is a bullshit of excuse for play calling. You got to be able to stretch the field. If that's not your MO, then you shouldn't have gone with Jimmy Garoppolo. You paid all this money on the offensive side of the football. You ignored the defense during free agency. Well, now it's time to put up or shut up, because what we have seen from Jacobs the past 2 weeks, it's not on Jacobs. It's on McDaniels. It's on Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's on this offensive line to be able to figure it out, because I'm telling you what, Jacobs doesn't have anywhere to run. You're going to have Bo Jackson back there right now, and it ain't making a difference. Let's go to the next overreaction story. Tyree Wilson is a bust. Dude has been booty cheeks. I'm talking booty cheeks. Still not a bust, though. Massive overreaction. It is 2 weeks into his NFL career. And this is where Raider fans, again, and most NFL fans are going to get impatient. It's unfair for Tyree being the number 7 overall pick on the Raiders. And I say that because Raider fans are expecting so much from this rookie coming off a foot injury. But, like, Chandler Jones deserves a lot of blame here, right? Like, the Raiders brought in Chandler Jones so they didn't have to play Tyree Wilson right away. They knew Tyree wasn't 100% healthy, and he's not 100% healthy right now. But because Chandler Jones can't get his shit together, because Chandler Jones, I don't know what's going on with him, that's the bigger issue that I have. Because Chandler can't be an adult and get his shit together, Tyree Wilson now is in a situation where he's got to go out there on the field. He's not 100% healthy. Is he a bust? No. Has he played well? No. Should the Raiders have drafted Jalen Carter? It's definitely looking like that right now. But it is way, way too early in this young man's career to call him a bust. He was going to be a slow start, and the OGs that watch this show knew that I said he was going to be off to a slow start. Let's see what he looks like at the end of the year. Let's see what he looks like next year, because he's got a lot of talent. He's just hasn't played because he's still recovering from a little bit of an injury right now. So how about this? Let's go down to the comment section right now and ask this question. Do you think that Tyree Wilson is a bust? And I think most people that answer this are probably going to say yes, because they're frustrated in his inability to make any contribution right now to this team. But they're putting him in a tough spot. Do I think he's a bust? No. Is the fire starting to light up underneath that young man's behind? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go to the next one here. The Raiders defense, it sucks again. Guess what? Believe it, baby. The Raiders defense sucks again, and I'm so mad because time and time again, and I hate when NFL coaches do this. They're like, we're the coaches, we're the GM. They come off as like, we know better than you. Anybody that knows anything about this Raiders team in the last 3 years, you can look at that roster and you can say they should have invested in the defensive tackle room. And yet McDaniels just totally ignored it. They had the third most money in salary cap space, and instead of investing on the defensive line, they decided to invest all this money on offense. I get McDaniels. McDaniels tries to make himself look better, but your offense sucks right now. Your offense isn't able to move the football. Your defensive line might be the worst defensive line in all of the NFL, and you got Maxx Crosby. This defensive tackle room is a joke. Look at the time of possession here. This is out of 60 minutes. 40 minutes with Buffalo. The long drives that they had. If you don't win in the trenches, you're not going to win football games. You can have a great Maxx Crosby. You can have a Nate Hobbs, a Marcus Epps, Robert Spillane, I don't even think played bad. But the problem is when you're the opposing team and you know that you're going to be able to pick up 5-6 yards every time you run the ball, that's exhausting on the defensive line. I'm frustrated because the Raiders ignored their biggest team need this offseason yet again at defensive tackle. That falls on McDaniels. That falls on Dave Ziegler. Does Patrick Graham need to be better? Yes. But I do think if McDaniels and Ziegler would have spent some of their money on the defensive side of the football instead of trying to make McDaniels look great, we'd have a lot different of a defense because there's talent on this team. It's just we have nobody up front. And when you have nobody up front, you're going to lose in the linebacker position. You're going to lose in the secondary safety corner. It doesn't matter. You neglected the defensive tackle room. McDaniel, Ziegler, that falls on you. Grow up, look in the mirror, and go get a defensive tackle or else it's going to be a long, long season. And then the final one is the Raiders should trade Hunter Renfrow. For just win, babies. Believe it, baby. If you're not going to play Hunter Renfrow, trade him. Like, why are you spending $13 million on a wide receiver if you're not going to use him? He finally got a catch today. One catch, one target, and it came in garbage time in the fourth quarter. The first time the Raiders walked out onto the field today, they put out Christian Wilkerson at wide receiver over Renfrow. Jacoby Myers didn't play because of concussion protocol. I'm curious to see where these snaps end up lining up, but I'm willing to bet that right now Renfrow might be behind Christian Wilkerson. He might even be behind DeAndre Carter. So how can you explain to me that you're going to continue to sit here and say our defensive tackle room is going to suck and you're going to pay a receiver $13 million? Like, Brandon Bolden's making $2.23 million on your bench. Cut his ass. Use that 2.23. Trade Hunter Renfrow for a 6th, 7th round pick at this point if you're not going to use him. And then use that money and invest it onto the defensive tackle position. What drives me nuts is McDaniels and Ziegler, they just come up with these ideas in their head like, oh, we got our guys, and that's what we're going to stick with. If you don't make adjustments in the NFL and if you don't make adjustments in life, you're going to get left on the back burner. McDaniels and Ziegler are still living like they play with Tom Brady at quarterback, and they think that everything that they do is going to be cupcakes, butterflies, and rainbows because a few years ago, they had Tom Brady as a QB, and everything that they did at that point was successful. Guess what? Jimmy Garoppolo ain't Tom Brady. Nobody's Tom Brady. And until y'all realize that, it's going to be a rough year. There's going to be more games like a 38-10 blowout than a 17-16 win over Denver. And that's going to fall on the coaching staff. Now, here's our programming schedule. This is what we're going to be doing the remainder of the week. We're going to be live Monday and Tuesday, so I'll see you guys here in a little bit live on the Raiders Report. Then we'll be live again on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Chugs and I are going to be live then for Thursday Night Football at 7:20 Eastern Time. Giants-Niners, which is going to be an interesting game. And then on Friday, Jeremy and I, we fly out to Las Vegas. We're going to be hanging out with the Blackout Division. Can't wait to see the nation for the opening weekend. And then we're going to be live Sunday, Raiders, Steelers, Sunday Night Football. I'm upset about yesterday's game. I know a lot of people are upset about yesterday's game. Let's move on to Pittsburgh. Let's go forward. If you're able to go 2-1, you're going to silence a lot of doubters. If you go 1-2 and you play bad again at Allegiant Stadium, the fire McDaniel chants that we should have kept Derek Carr, the Tyree Wilson's a bust, the Josh Jacobs stinks, it's going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. Here's a week to put the fire out and calm some people down and say, you know what? We're actually a good team. We just had a really bad week against an opponent that put us in a buzzsaw, and that's going to happen in the NFL. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report. Hopefully you guys made it this far in the video. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications for all these live shows this week here on the Raiders Report.